Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, joining us. Jon and I are here talking about one hockey game, just one exhibition. It's very weird, Jon. I'm not sure I like this. I kind of miss having two games.
I kind of like having the one game. It's like we're doing a football podcast right now. It's great because we can record on Saturday. I don't have to try and remember what happened in two separate games. Sometimes the narrative is different in both of those games. Sometimes it's pretty close. So I'm kind of enjoying this right now, Jason. So I'm a proponent of like a 19 game season. It's very spread out, very little hockey for the guys, but it certainly isn't normal. But it was great. It was great to get some game action, some real game action for the team. We are excited to be back. But before we get to that exhibition against Air Force Academy, we'd like to thank our founding members for their support of the Mavpuckcast this season. As I am talking, you are seeing a scroll of the names of those who are founding members of Mavpuck.com. Those names will also be scrolling at the end of every episode of the Mavpuckcast this season. So if you miss it at the beginning, which you shouldn't miss it at the beginning, you can always check those names out at the end. For just $18 for the season, you'll get your name on the scroll. You'll get weekly emails from Bridget with all kinds of interesting information, including her game previews. It also allows you to get into our group ticket allotments for select road games. So we're doing a road trip to Augustana and Arizona State this upcoming season. So our founding members always get first crack at those seats. We can all sit together as a group, but you got to be a founding member to get in on that. So if you would like to be a founding member, visit mavpuck.com/join. Jason, you're a founding member. I know you're a little biased here, but have you enjoyed your founding membership?
It would be really weird if I wasn't a founding member, wouldn't it be? Yes, I love what Bridget does to put together the road trips and stuff. If you haven't been on one of those road trips, it is a blast. It's everyone else who is just like you, who listens to the podcast and follows the site and loves this team and is passionate about this team, and we all just get together and we go hang out, have fun. Sometimes there's some crazy antics, and there's been putt tournaments that I've attended in the past. So yeah, it's not all hockey, but it is mostly hockey. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence about it, join today, get your name on the scroll, and you won't regret it.
But before we talk any more about going on the road, we've got to talk about the Air Force exhibition game to start the season. Air Force is led by legendary head coach Frank Serratori. He's a coach who helped turn around the Omaha Lancers organization back in the mid 90s. So he's very well known here in the Omaha hockey community. And Serratori was a finalist for the UNO hockey head coaching job back in 1996. And in fact, the Omaha World Herald published a headline saying it was going to be Frank Serratori. So it was kind of like a, Dewey defeats Truman moment there, because Mike Kemp ultimately ended up getting the job. Jason, it was Military Appreciation Night. Did you bid on any of the special occasion military auction jerseys that the team wore for this game?
I did not in this round. It's just one of those jerseys that's not, a lot of times, not high on my list. And, I think so many new players, it's kind of I feel bad for jinxing someone, because I have not had the best of luck in winning these bids and having those players stick around. So I took one for the team this time and said, I'm just gonna not play this game, unfortunately. How about you? How many did you win?
I did. We only got one jersey, but you alluded to this. It's really hard. Normally, this game is later in the season, so you've had a chance to get to know some of the new players a little bit more, and you can kind of figure out who you might want to bid on. this year is kind of flying blind because, 15 newcomers, we don't know a lot of them. So that made it a little more difficult. So early season jersey auction, we did get a jersey. I will keep it as a surprise as to who we got in the jersey auction. So you'll just have to stay tuned to the podcast and stay tuned on the Mavpuck social media accounts to see what happened there. But going into the first period on this Friday night exhibition game. It was a back and forth game the first period. You could tell people were trying to work the kinks out, work some of this off-season rust out. But 13:05 into the first period, senior Griffin Ludke taps in a nice backdoor goal for the Mavericks. It was in front of the crease, assist to Woodworth and Slippick. Slippick had a nice cross-eyed pass to Woodworth to set that up. It was 1-0 UNO after one, Jason.
Yeah, which I mean, it certainly score wise made you feel good, but like you alluded to, both teams, not just Omaha, were clear it's the first game. There was a lot of rust kind of out there. There was I think some guys that just got out of position because it's the first time I'm playing someone that's not on the same team as me. So, looking to make a statement, looking kind of to do more than what they probably should instead of just staying within their systems. So yeah, it was kind of a sloppy first period, but that play that it was really bang bang. It was a nice setup. And it's always good when your captain gets you first on the board in a season.
Air Force is a team. They don't get the talent that some of the top tier programs get being a service academy, but those Frank Serratori coach teams always play tough. So we knew going in that it was going to be a good test for UNO to get the season underway. Second period, Omaha was hoping to build on that lead. They had a number of opportunities. Freshman goaltender Dawson Cowan came into the game midway through the second. Nice to see the freshman get a chance. I think he's going to be a really exciting goaltender going forward. So it was nice to get him some game action. And 15:58 into the second, Brett Highland puts UNO up 2-0. So it was 2-0 UNO after two. And I will say Brett Highland was in the preseason press conference at UNO, and I get the sense the coaches are very excited about him.
We're not in practice, right? So we don't know what it is that they see. We just see the product of it, what comes out on the ice, and so it's nice to see that they have some level of respect for him and see him as an integral part of the team. But then we also see him contributing on the ice in the games on the weekend.
Absolutely right. Very exciting player. Excited to see how things evolve for him this season. So as I mentioned, 2-0 UNO after two. I was kind of hopeful, Jason. We were just gonna kind of cruise from there, kind of be able to take off the third period.
I don't know. Air Force was making some pretty good pushbacks, and before that second goal in the second period, uh, I was really worried the ice seemed to be kind of tipping Air Force's way, and that you breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief with a two-goal lead. But if you've been around hockey for any amount of time, the most dangerous lead in hockey, they say, is a two-goal lead, and so. Um, I'd say anyone who says that it's a two-goal lead never had a three-goal lead, but we'll see. Unfortunately, Omaha can't get the three-goal lead, and so third period, Air Force gets back in to the game with their first goal.
Yeah, absolutely. 8:43 into the third. Air Force's Chris Hedden gets a shorthanded goal, narrows UNO's lead to 2-1. There was 14 seconds left on the power play for UNO when that happened. So that was a
Yeah.
bit rough, but they took advantage of that opportunity, Jason.
Yeah, just some poor decisions by Omaha, and it hurt us. And that's something that we've struggled with in past years. Past Omaha teams have had challenges with turnovers in their zone, and at this level, a turnover in your zone is going to be on net. Everyone knows, like, you don't mess around with those things. You get scoring opportunities off of them, and kudos to Air Force. It's what they did. They got the turnover. They got to work. They got it to net and found the back of it.
Late in that third period, 16:58 into the third, Air Force ties it up 2-2. It's kind of a garbage goal down low, set up by a rebound off the boards, Jason. A tough position to be in. So it's 2-2 after regulation. and we're going to that 3-on-3 overtime. So our first 3-on-3 OT action of the season. What'd you think going into that overtime period, Jason?
Well, I didn't really know what to think. We they put guys out there, and I'm like, well, haven't seen these three guys do this before, so let's curious how this is gonna go. And it'd be an interesting thing to ask coach sometime is how much they practice that, how much they focus on it. Is it, do they have guys that they feel like that's their skill set? Because I'm just curious what that attention is to that, but. We win the face off, which is always the big thing in that OT is puck control. There's a lot of space out there, and you certainly feel a lot more comfortable, and you have a lot more the your odds are in your favor if you're possessing the puck, and so yeah, and it was a good entry into the zone, and then unfortunately it was a turnover, but the two forwards on the ice did a great job forechecking.
33 seconds into OT. Freshman Joel Plant, and so it's Plant, not Plant. We're working on these new. Last night we were just talking about name pronunciations like the whole evening. It's gonna be a struggle for Jason and I. We're gonna do the best that we can. Assist to Brett Highland. They were working it down low, and yeah, absolutely a fantastic way to get a win in an exhibition game. Made the exhibition a little bit more exciting for fans and for the players. So the Mavs win 3-2 in overtime. What are your final thoughts on this game? It's always kind of nice to see the guys get out there for the first time, get some good competition against an NCAA team that is known for playing disciplined hockey. But it was a little rough there at times.
Obviously you feel good about a win. There was involvement by our D. There was some players who really seemed to look good, but it'll be interesting to see what coach does and what the team does. But the power play was probably the one thing that stood out to me more than anything else was uh, that the ability to move the puck. These guys had that once we got into the zone, it was just move it, move it, move it. If you got clean, open, you take that shot. And so we saw, I think, more shots on the first power play than we probably had power play shots in an entire game last season. So that's encouraging to me. Like that can be a difference maker for Omaha if we can um, take advantage of those power play opportunities. Um, so hopefully that trend continues. I'm curious, John, what stood out to you about the team, about the game, about Baxter? Now that we're back there,
I'm excited to see how these guys mesh. I'm excited to see how the coaching staff plays with the line combinations over the next few weekends. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Look, we've got a lot of veteran players who came to us out of the CHL. Some of them had aged out of the CHL, so they were playing U Sports in Canada, which is Canadian college hockey. So it's a different pool of players that we brought in during this offseason by and large. And as we talked about on the last episode of the Mavpuckcast, it's going to be interesting to see how they gel and what kind of chemistry they form. And I'm excited about the potential and possibility for these players as we as we edge closer to mid-season during this first half. So it should be exciting. Jason, I've got to ask you, who is your player of the week for this weekend game against Air Force?
for those that were around me early in the first period and at the first intermission, I just hopefully they will vouch for me that I had said we got to keep an eye on this kid at that point in time. But Plant is the one who really stood out to me. I His ability to find open space was surprising to me. Some guys kind of get lost in traffic and then they just kind of open up randomly and stuff. But like he always seemed to go find areas of the ice where he could be an option for guys. It'll be important to keep him on a line with guys that can get him the puck. And it's going to be important for him to finish opportunities. But in one game, start to finish every period, he was on the ice and making plays that I went like, oh, good play. Oh, good play. Oh, there he is again, right? And then to net the OT winner, I think was, a really impressive feat for him. So there's other guys I want to talk about. So hopefully we have a chance to like go beyond our one player. We'll see. But I don't want to steal any thunder from John. So Plant's my guy. John can't take him. Now, John, who you going with?
Well, let me say on Plot, yes, you did mention him during the game. He had that game-winning goal in overtime. He split time last season between the BCHL and the WHL. He is an exciting young player. Excited to see how the season goes for him going forward. I think he could be really good for UNO this season. Great pick, Jason. I'm going with a guy. This is not going to be as exciting and new as yours, but I'm going with a guy who was one of my players to watch on last week's episode of the Mavpuckcast, and that's freshman forward Luke Woodworth. He had 2 assists on the night. I noticed his presence on the ice during the game. Maybe that's just because I was like watching to see what he did during the game. But I saw him out there communicating with other players. Quick decision making ability was really key for him. And I think he's going to have a really good season for UNO.
He was involved in plays, making smart decisions, and quick. That's one of the things with the power play that we talked about is, he was out there a couple times, and when he had that space and the opportunity, he didn't seem to kind of get swallowed up in it. And so that awareness, making a quick decision, having that decision be the right one, I think that goes a long way in being successful in a season. And so I look forward to seeing kind of where he goes, because he was one that when you mentioned him on that podcast, I was like, okay, all right. Kind of seemed a little out of left field for me because I really didn't know a whole lot about him coming in. And so I didn't see him as kind of being one of those guys. So I love seeing guys like that step up and just kind of say, I'm going to steal your attention. So.
Jason, noticed you've been sipping on a drink here. That's
Yeah, a
right.
little throwback to our first season of the podcast. And the random segment that people seem to love out of, we don't know why. I don't know why. You realize how
Yeah.
hard it was to come up with things to drink for those episodes?
Yeah, so we used to start off each episode of the Mad Puckcast during the first season with a "What are you drinking?" segment. And I will say, I mean, Jason and I loved it, but I will say there were a number of people for the next 3 years who were like, I tuned into your podcast one time, and all you guys do is talk about what you're having to drink. So we axed that after the first season. Well, now we have Wahoo Distillery as a sponsor this season. They make a really good product, which we've talked about over the course of the first couple episodes of the podcast this season. Jason, you are drinking their signature whiskey.
I have their cinnamon whiskey today. I went with the cinnamon today because it's supposed to be fall and the weather's not cooperating. So I'm trying to will it into existence at this point in time. I don't like hot weather. Those who know me, 80 is way too much, and 90s in October is stupid. So we're trying to bring on fall. I'm trying to get the first snow here in the next couple weeks out of the way. So contributing. But yes, like you say, Wahoo Distillery, our first sponsor here on the podcast. Super appreciate everything they're doing to support us here. And so if you are also willing to support local businesses, support our own community, they're right out of Wahoo. They make a great product. You can buy it online. They do ship. You can also pick up in their store if you want to take a short trip out to Wahoo and pick up there. You're able to select that as an option. And if that's too far to drive, don't have a way to get out there, most of the Hy-Vees in the area are carrying both their original whiskey and their cinnamon whiskey. So you can go get a bottle of both.
Let me ask you on the cinnamon whiskey, and I'm not an alcohol. I have never had alcohol to drink in my life, so this is a little bit lost on me. We're gonna have to have them make a non-alcoholic drink at some point here. But is there like a hint of cinnamon when you drink the cinnamon whiskey?
I would say more than a hint.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's there, it's there. Um I mean the most people who drink whiskey, especially if they drink flavored whiskeys, they're familiar with Fireball. That's kind of I'd say the biggest name brand when it comes to cinnamon whiskeys. And so it's similar to that for my taste though, much easier to drink, much smoother finish. Um so that's just my opinion, my non-expert opinion, because I mean, I drink. I don't really study. So I can ask the guys if you have any questions. You can put them in the comments, and I will forward them on to Wahoo because I don't think I can answer any of them. But I
Yeah,
know
and if you'd
someone who
like
can.
exactly, and if you'd like to learn more about Wahoo Distillery, visit wahoodistillery.com. It's great to have them as a sponsor of the Mavpuckcast this season. But
Moving
Jason,
on,
moving on.
we need to talk about John. We need to talk about not this
Yes.
one because this is the old one. So ignore Jason here.
Yeah, Jason has the old jersey on. I was going to wear a jersey and I've just been like hot for like the last week. It's hovering near 90 in Omaha as Jason alluded to. Jason's ready for snow. I'm not quite ready for that cold yet, but UNO at the open house scrimmage last week unveiled their new uniforms for the 2025-26 season. And boy, this is a topic that fans they love to debate this topic online. Some of the fans love the new looks, others don't. Change is always hard. Fans get
Yeah.
used to looking at a certain thing and it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to make changes. It does seem universally like fans like those original uniforms from the mid 90s to like early to mid 2000s, which were the kind of the predominantly red and white uniforms with that old style bowl that they used to have on the front. A lot of people miss that. A lot of people wish that they'd go back to that, but they changed their branding back in 2011. So I don't think they're going to go back to that, Jason. So we've got new uniforms to talk about, and they're pretty similar to the uniforms we've had the past decade or so, right? Um, when you look at the new home jersey, Jason, it basically is the gray jersey that was introduced a few seasons ago, except instead of gray, it is now white. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, it's not far off of this, right? Like it still has
Yeah.
the bull logo on the front. I think the biggest thing from what I've seen is I think if you notice, is the shoulder patches. They
Yep.
go from the O that we're all kind of familiar with and have seen for a long time to this. Do you call it an outline of the state? I don't vector
Yeah.
art of the state. I don't know what John. You're the expert on that. I don't know
Well,
what you call it.
it's the state on the home jersey, it's the state in black with a red outline. And then where the city of Omaha is, there's the little O logo. You see that on there? Like that?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's new this year. Normally they've put the O on the shoulder patches on the home jersey, as you can see with the jersey that Jason is wearing. And so the new thing is rather than having the two kind of like 1 inch stripes on the sleeves and on the bottom of the torso, now they've gone with the thick black stripe that we've seen on the gray jerseys
Yeah.
that were introduced a few seasons ago. And they've got like a little red trim. So do you like the home jersey? We'll just stick with this one for a moment. Do you like it?
I mean we can go one by one.
I like it.
I think it's fine. Like
Yeah, I think it's good.
I didn't really dislike the one that I'm wearing any like I like
Yeah.
the bowl head. Like there's a lot of stuff I like about this one, so I don't know what I could even say about it negatively other than like I think that the outline of the state might be a little like all right, whatever, but I think that my biggest complaint about it honestly is that they didn't go further. They didn't try to do more, and so from a marketing guy's perspective working for the university, I look at it saying the same way that we look at tech and stuff is like, what is the motivation for someone to move from last year's version to this year's version? And so I look at the jersey saying, like, if I have this version, Jason,
Yeah.
sitting here, why would I go out and buy a new white jersey? Because it basically looks the same. And so I think
Because
that's
it's
the for me the frustrating thing is that missed opportunity of like cashing in on fans wanting to mirror the team and do that. And I know people who are intense about buying jerseys because they really want to have whatever and they don't want to be the guy that shows up to the game with the 5-year-old design of a jersey or something. And um so yeah, I think that's the kind of the missed opportunity there. But I don't know. I'm curious, John, what you see because I think you have a better eye for these things.
I like the jersey. I
Okay.
like that they tried something different on the shoulders. I think having the state of Nebraska is kind of cool. I know Western Michigan has jerseys that have the state of Michigan on them, and it might have a little star or Bronco or something where Kalamazoo, Michigan is. I don't know that for sure, but they do have Michigan on their shoulders. So it's kind of similar to that. I like the looks of the home jersey. I think it's great. I like the fact that a few years ago they decided to put the bowl back on the front. It hadn't been on the front of a jersey for a long time before that. So it's great to have that. Some people debate whether they like the thick black stripe or not. I like it because I'm a big fan of the gray jerseys. So again, I might end up getting this jersey because I have not gotten a home white jersey for many years now. A lot of times we get jerseys in the auctions, but it's been a long time. The last time I got one, it had Omaha on the front. So yeah, I might check that. I might check that one out. And I do want to point out that the jerseys this year are CCM jerseys, which is the company that is manufacturing the jerseys for the team. It's a high-end replica jersey. I know some people have said it's the same jersey that's on the ice. I mean, technically that's true, but it's not an authentic on-ice jersey that has the fight strap in the back and all of that. And again, as you know, Jason, I'm kind of a jersey snob, so I'm just going to point that out. But they are good looking jerseys that Lawlers has for the first time. And it's great to have a replica that's made by the vendor that's making the team's jerseys because they look the same. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the gray uniforms, which are basically exactly the same, other than, as you mentioned, they've got obviously they're going to have the country of origin on one sleeve because our gray third jerseys have that. So wherever the
So like
play,
all of them will have the Canadian flag there.
yeah, they had to order a lot of Canadian flags this year. So yeah, we'll see a lot of those. And I'll likely when I bid on those at the end of the season, I'll likely be getting a Canadian jersey. Just the odds of it and the ratio make that so. On the other sleeve, they've got the state of Nebraska now. It's red with a black outline. So yeah, that's cool. And it's pretty much the same. The only thing that's really different is the fact that the black stripe on the bottom of the, around the stomach area and then on the sleeves has that red outline like the home jersey. So they just added a little bit more red, which is good because fans, are constantly requesting red. So,
You might
Jason,
remember this. Did they add that to the outline, or did it always have the outline of the numbers have the little red stroke?
oh
That's the
yeah,
thing I didn't remember is if that was the same or not.
yeah, the red outline was not on those numbers.
Okay.
So I'm actually like sitting right next to me is Jacob Slipek's jersey, and it had black numbers with white outline on that gray jersey. So that is something that's different.
Okay.
So.
Again, it's small changes, but I think the fan base really liked the gray, so I like that they didn't, push it too far because I think they had something the fan base was liking. Now is not the time to kind of mess with that, especially since they were planning on doing some changes to the home and away jerseys. So this just kind of like carries some of those changes through, but doesn't make a huge difference with the gray jerseys. If you have a gray jersey, I don't think anyone's going to notice any of the differences um, between one year to the next.
Yeah, those gray jerseys have been very popular. I have really liked those jerseys, so I'm glad they introduced those a few years ago because those have been a really neat addition to the a uniform lineup for UNO. And then the jersey, Jason, that's probably the most controversial, which is the new black road jersey. And I first let me just add while we're talking about this, I always refer to them as jerseys. I know that some of the old school purists refer to them as sweaters, but I just
They're sweaters, but okay, yeah.
I always call them jerseys. But
Translation, John thinks Jason's a snob.
I'm going with a more modern term here, but anyway, these black ones have been somewhat controversial. Some people love them and other people don't. There are some fans who are just excited that they did something different. Well, they completely switched it up, Jason. And now we've got a white band across the front, and it says Omaha in black with red and white outline. And then on the sleeves, we've got big white stripes with a red outline around those. And on the bottom of the front of the jersey, there aren't really any big striping or anything else. It's just a very thin stripe that kind of trims the bottom of the jersey. So that was probably clear as mud, but what do you think of these jerseys, Jason? What do you think of these black jerseys?
Again, like I don't hate them, I don't love them, I don't like. I think the black one was the one that like it's big enough that I'm gonna have to question whether or not I need to update my jersey supply with a new away jersey. Um, I am more of a, and I don't know, John, you said you haven't bought a home jersey in a while, so maybe you're the same way, but like I tend to gravitate more towards the colored jerseys for any of the teams that I follow. I usually like the full colors. Generally speaking, this is probably the jersey I would go with, but I just it's different. It is what it is. Someone was telling me it's kind of a throwback to some of the earlier ones, but it's not really like a throwback to the like early ones, which is what if you're trying to do that, you'd probably want to do. So I know it's kind of like that middle ground.
Now, I saw
Um,
some people wearing it at the game against Air Force, and I honestly I thought it looked really nice. So I'm curious to see what it looks like when we see guys in game action. But you asked me about what I think. Do I prefer white jerseys or do I prefer the colored jerseys? And I'll be honest with you, I do prefer that a jersey have a color. I remember when the UNO hockey program started back in 1997, and I got a jersey for the first time. I got one of the white jerseys. And I just like it was fine. I liked it. A lot of people bought that jersey. It was Bauer was the merchandise and apparel provider for the team back then. And it was a good jersey, but I never loved a white one. And I don't know if it's just because I'm worried about getting it dirty all the time. I don't know if it's that or not. So I actually waited until Lawler's ended up getting the red road jersey, which said Nebraska Omaha on the front, because I wanted whatever the road was. So I've always gravitated either towards the road or whatever the alternate jersey is, which tends to be a color that is not white. And they also sell at Lawler's the CCM version of that military jersey that was auctioned this last weekend. So it's kind of cool that normally with auction jerseys like that are really very specified, like a military auction jersey, normally fans don't have a chance to buy generics of those. Fans have a chance to buy a generic of that this season. So I'm curious to see what jersey of the new design jerseys ends up being the most popular, Jason. We will just have to see. We've got to preview the first real game action. Jason will be excited about this because it's the first real series of the season. These are the first games that are going to count in the NCAA record book. We've got an old foe coming in, MSU-Mankato. The Purple Mavs come to town October 10th and 11th. We are playing for the Spirit of the Maverick Traveling Trophy. The Mankato Mavericks are ranked 18 in two of the preseason polls. Mankato State is led by head coach Luke Strand. He took over when Mike Hastings, who was a former Omaha Lancers head coach, departed for Wisconsin. So Strand has had some success the last couple of seasons. He is 45, 24, and 7 in the past two seasons. And MSU Mankato made the NCAA tournament last season and finished the regular season first in the CCHA. But what do you think about this series going in? It's going to be an interesting test for UNO. These will be the first games that Mankato play this season, so we don't have a kind of a benchmark to see how they did in an exhibition or anything. So it's going to be exciting going in.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test for Omaha. It's certainly an advantage, at least in the Friday night tilt, that we've played a game for real. Saw a team that we don't see in the cafeteria at school, as they used to say. Um, it'll be important for Omaha to come out of the gate, play quick hockey, be productive, capitalize on opportunities, really shut the door, have a bit of a killer attitude. Don't be complacent with a couple goal lead. Keep playing your way, and really kind of put a nail in it on Friday, and then carry that into Saturday. If they're going to look for a sweep, that's going to be kind of how they have to do it. I think the other thing that I'm curious to see is there's a lot of familiar, like recent familiar faces on this team. You've got former Omaha players, a couple of them in there. You've got quite a few uh, guys that played NCHC hockey last. And so, yeah, like a lot of guys that you're going to see, names that you'll see if you're listening to the broadcast or watching on TV, that you'll be like, oh, that guy's no longer with Western Michigan or no longer with Duluth, and now he's with Mankato.
Yeah, absolutely right. And speaking of those players to watch, you alluded to this. Two former Omaha Mavericks transferred this last offseason to Mankato. Junior forward Charlie Lurie, who had a really good sophomore campaign for UNO. He had 4 goals and 6 assists last season. He is with Mankato now, and sophomore forward Liam Watkins. We didn't get to see a lot of him because he was injured a big chunk of last season, but he transferred there and he had 2 goals and 2 assists for UNO last season. So those are a couple guys to watch. One of the things that I'll say is that I think the key for Mankato this season is going to be senior goaltender Alex Tracy, one of the best netminders in college hockey going into the season. He had a 1.42 goals against average and a .946 save percentage last season. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can get anything in on him. But they lost 3 of their top 5 point producers last season. But Jason alluded to some of the other transfer players from the NCHC that have gone to Mankato, and one of those guys is Tristan Lemaire. He previously had stints with Denver and then Western Michigan last season. So he has been added to bolster the forward group up at Mankato. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys perform. And it's going to be fun to get to see a couple of former UNO Mavs come into Baxter Arena for this series. But Jason, you alluded to it a little bit. What's your prediction? Do you think we'll get swept? Do you think we'll split? Do you think we'll sweep? What do you think is going to happen against the Purple Mavericks of MSU Mankato?
I look at the Purple Mavs as kind of playing the off-season game that Omaha played the last couple seasons. They've got some incoming guys off the transfer portal, and the big question is how do they produce? And so for that team to have success for me, I think that key is to see those guys step up and be productive in ways that they weren't with their old clubs. That's the big thing. Like if they're the same player that you got at Western or something, then I don't know if that does it for them. I think for that reason, like I think they're going to take some time to get going. Plus, it's their first season. I think a split is probably the most reasonable look at it for me. But that said, I think Omaha has a good opportunity to sweep. The first night, it's going to be, like I said before, like it's going to be key to get out the door fast, get on the board quick, play sound hockey, don't make poor decisions, and then just keep the pressure on. And then I think Saturday they're gonna have to expect a big pushback. These are guys that know how to play college hockey. I know we don't do the whole like Friday, Saturday thing, but clearly I'm picking Omaha on Friday and Mankato on Saturday.
Yeah, so
John, your thoughts on you gonna jump on the wagon with me? You want to buck the trend? I mean, you got these guys finishing like second in the country, and
no,
so
I have them finishing fourth in the conference. Yes, I'm optimistic on the season. I do think that a split is a realistic and safe bet, but I'm not going to be realistic. This is our first real home series at Baxter Arena, and I think the guys are going to be very excited. I'll be interested to see how the team kind of evolves from that exhibition that we just watched against Air Force. And I'll be interested to see what kind of adjustment the coaches make, what we see coming out of the gate for UNO this upcoming weekend. So I'm going to say we sweep our first home series of the season against what should be a really good and a really game Minnesota State Mankato team. It's not going to be easy, and I think the games could be close and they could come down to the wire. So it'll just be interesting to see. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, I think goaltender Alex Tracy is going to be key for Mankato, much in the way that I think senior goaltender Simon Lacosi is going to be a big factor for UNO. So it's going to be a duel of two of the best goaltenders in college hockey this upcoming weekend. I can't wait to see it. Looking forward to seeing all of you out at Baxter Arena. Should be a lot of fun. Friday and Saturday's games will be at 7:07 p.m. Central Time. You can listen to the games on 1290 Coil in Omaha or online anywhere on the Varsity Network app. Mike Valancourt and Terry Leahy will, of course, have the call. Both games will be streaming on NCHC TV. So if you haven't subscribed to NCHC TV, you might want to do that. As Jason and I talked about on the last episode of the podcast, they will be streaming all of the NCHC games this season. So I'm very excited about that. And if you sign up for NCHC TV, if you're not currently a subscriber, be sure to choose Omaha at checkout because the university will get some of the proceeds of your membership going towards them. So we would like to see that happen. And of course, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of our social channels to stay up to date. And you can find links to all of our various social channels at mavpuck.com. But until next time, Jason, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.